long time ago. This client came in and she brought her dog in for training and she's holding it and it's a little dachshund. And this dog, so she's telling me, this dog is so sweet, he's my baby. And you know what? I have no doubt that they cuddle on the couch really well together, right?
Yeah.
But I'm looking at this dog and it's in her arms and it's shaking so much, I was surprised I didn't hear its teeth rattling. Its eyes were bulging, its ears were back, and all I see is a dog that thinks that it is going to not make it. It's like, I hate this environment, put me back in my home, right? But I was behind the desk, she's sitting here on the other side of the desk, and we got the paperwork done. I said, okay, I'll go ahead and take your dog. And the dog had a leash on it.
Yeah.
I wear a hat all the time. So when I stood up, I had my head down to walk around the desk. And when I looked up, she's shoving him into me to hold. And this dog lit up. I gotta do more flips and flips when I bend over.
I'm like, don't do that.
All right.
Again with the funny intro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now we get to start it and we get to see if we can do it without having a retake. So, welcome everyone to Dogaholics episode 3. Joined here again with Kari. We had so much fun doing it last time on episode 2. This, of course, is brought to you by AAA Dog Training and Consulting, where you can take care of all of your behavioral needs, as well as check us out for consultation when it comes down to having the information and knowledge to properly pick out a puppy, as well as any other problems that you might have. So, welcome.
Thank you.
We didn't wear green on purpose. No. So we did not wake up this morning and say, I'm going to wear green. It is also not St. Patrick's Day.
It is not, and this is Chris's favorite thing. Like, if we had any time left before scheduled time to be on camera, he probably would have gone and changed his shirt. But I am one of those people, and I am a morning person, but I like to wake up with coffee, and then I get ready, like, right up to walking out the door. And this morning, that wasn't the case. I got ready, and I'm a little late. So I walked out, and he's like, great, it's Green Day. He is not a fan of matchy-matchy couples. Matchy-matchy samesies.
Nope. So the only time it's acceptable is when you're playing a sport and you all have to wear the same uniform.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it.
Yep.
So you can see the layout's just a little bit different. We're obviously in the beginning of this podcast thing, and we're going to try little things to see how it works a little bit better. Yeah. Also, editing. This is going to save me a lot of time so I can train more dogs.
Yeah.
And not spend
hours and hours.
6 hours editing a video. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. So, today, we're also even going to start out a little different. We're not doing the rapid fire questions. We know that you like, pepper or pineapple on your pizza, and we know that you prefer to set the toilet paper roll on top of the holder. You want to know what that's about? Go back to episode 2. All right. So, instead, we're going to start off with fun dog facts. So we got a lot of good feedback with this because who doesn't like to learn about dogs?
Yeah.
And their weirdness and sometimes bigness and sometimes dorkiness.
Grossness. Yeah.
Yep. So the first one, a bloodhound's sense of smell can be used as evidence in court.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
So it says, according to PBS, a bloodhound's sense of smell is so spot on that it can be admitted as evidence in a court of law. Now, if you thought that was an incredible dog fact, prepare to have your mind blown.
Okay.
Bloodhounds can also follow tracks that are over 300 hours old and can stay on a trail for over 130 miles.
That's insane. 300 hours old.
Yep.
So that's, I'm not mathing today. How many days?
It's quite a few days.
Yeah. Lots of
so
days
I will
old.
say this. We watched a documentary or a show
12.
one time. It was like
12 days old, approximately. If we're talking 25-hour days, which we're not, but
Yeah. We watched on TV, there was a show that we watched where they were trying to find a child. Mm-hmm. And the child was abducted and forced into a car, but they knew that the bad person took the freeway. And so they ended up throwing a bloodhound in the cop car or the tracking car. Anyways, they went to every exit and they let the bloodhound out and let him sniff around that exit.
Wow, that's insane.
Because of the scent that naturally comes out of a car. They found the exit.
And the dog was marking.
And it was
obviously.
miles.
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
They found the exit. The dog marked the exit. They took that exit, and they did that with virtually every turn. But they did it with the window open in the car. And so when they were driving along, the dog was continuing to say, "Yeah, we're on the right way."
Continuing to mark as it's driving down the freeway,
Yep.
which is absolutely crazy.
And then they ended up heading way out into this field, into the boondocks, and found him.
Wow. Yeah.
It was a week after the child was taken.
A week.
A week.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So.
What a blessing that sense is, if you think about it. I mean, if you think about it, that's a tremendous amount of time to have passed. But not only that, like to have that type of resource available.
Yep.
To law enforcement or for the potential of recovery of children, or anyone that's missing, really.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an incredible search and rescue tool.
Yeah. Now, if you're ever looking to get a bloodhound, just know that one of the things that makes their sense of smell so good as well is, you got the long ears, and when their nose is down on the ground, they drool and salivate so much because the moisture helps intensify the smell. And then the ears are actually kicking up because they're so long, they're disturbing the ground as well, and also creating kind of a cone and a concentration of that smell to go in the nose. It's pretty fascinating. I've worked quite a few bloodhounds, and they can be incredibly obstinate because the minute they get on any type of sense or smell that they're interested in, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
So it's kind of like olfactory overload, right? So you take all this drool and all this just movement right around the face, constant wafting, right, of smells. Whatever they're drooling is picking up whatever smell they're, plus they're noisy, like hounds are noisy.
All right, had to do it. Sorry, had to do it.
No, you're not sorry. Don't say sorry for things you're not sorry for.
Yeah.
They're adorable. So we've talked about this before. Like, I grew up, and this is different. These are littler, but still a hound. Like hush puppy shoes, right? Like, if you're an 80s baby at all,
I was an 80s baby.
Puppy,
well, not a baby, but
shoes. You had the little basset hound with the big old ears and the droopy eyes, and you just wanted to have. But I think that's what like a bunch of 80s puppy shows were based on, was like hush puppies, basset hounds.
I don't know. I was G.I. Joe.
Yeah. I'm thinking pound puppies.
Transformers.
Like pound puppies. Oh, all the basset hounds. I haven't owned one yet. Apparently last episode we learned I love corgis, and I've never owned one. And now I'm sitting here talking about basset hounds.
Yep. There's a lot of cool dogs out there, though.
But I can just be a dog lover.
Yeah.
And like all the like cutie patooties.
Yeah. That works. Sometimes the cute doesn't mean they're good to live with, though. All right. So, second fun dog fact.
Okay.
The Basenji doesn't bark. They yodel.
Okay, so explain Basenji. Because if I'm sitting here going, Basenji.
It's kind of like looks kind of like a foxhound. So here's the table. They're going to be about yay high. A lot of times they're mainly orangish looking, super short hair, kind of long spindly legs, and then they have white patches around and stuff. And their tail curls kind of like a pig's.
Oh.
And so, but anyways, they are not known to bark. They are known to yodel instead. And so it says, if you thought all dogs barked, then prepare yourself. Oh, by the way, credit goes to these fun dog facts. I found this on prina.co.uk. If you thought all dogs barked, then prepare yourself for this dog fact. The Basenji dog doesn't tend to bark. Instead, they are known to yodel, whine, or scream.
Scream.
Yeah.
You know who I found out can yodel yesterday? This is random. I'm pulling it in from outer left nowhere.
Okay.
Gwen Stefani. Shout out Gwen Stefani. She was doing a little hollaback girl clip on her Instagram, and then all of a sudden she's yodeling. And I was like, ooh, girl.
Yeah.
She's getting a little country.
Well, you know.
I have no clue where that's coming. Anyways,
Yeah.
That's a diversion. But Basenji's yodel.
Well, the thing that's, I was going to say, the thing that's interesting, we all know the screaming llama, right? Don't spit.
No spitting.
Okay. Or choking. So
no dying. Well, podcasting.
So all
There'd
I
be
could
evidence.
picture when I read the scream, all I could picture was that, I think it was a llama or an alpaca or something. It's just screaming. It was so. If you want a screaming dog, a dog that scares the bad people away from trying to get into your home with something different, get a screaming dog. Get a Basenji. Or they'll be like, why are they yodeling? And it's
The dog.
and it's the dog yodeling. Yeah.
It meets
Yodeling, oh, come on in.
meets you at the front door. Yodeling.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
So yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep. And we got one more. Now this one.
He's hiding it from me. He
Yep.
doesn't want me to read it.
No.
I'm like low key trying to read his phone from
Yeah.
the side, so I need to stop.
So this one I find pretty amazing just because of the fact that it's a combination of man and dog. And so, and when I say man, I mean mankind. It's this. So it's what can be achieved with a man and a dog, and I find this fascinating. Okay. So, a blind man and his guide dog hiked the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, I want to do that.
So it says, according to the Washington Post, for 8 months during 1990, a blind man named Bill hiked the Appalachian Trail with his guide dog. His dog's name was Orient.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's cool. Helping him along the way. I just think that's incredible.
Yeah.
Because you're literally putting your life in your dog's hand.
Yeah.
People get lost on the Appalachian Trail all the time. It's so brushy and with the cliffs and different things like that, you know, and so to have that type of relationship, to be able to trust your dog that much is just fascinating.
That's something else. Yeah. I mean, to just put your whole care in the senses of your service dog, like your service animal. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. We've trained so many service dogs, but blind dogs, dogs for the blind, CNI dogs, they are on a whole other level of training and time it takes and the things that they have to learn and then to have to adjust because the inner workings of transportation, just walking across the street changes. Yeah. You know, you've got everything from blinking lights to now beeping lights, crosswalks kind of thing, and just, anyways, all that kind of stuff. It's just absolutely amazing. So, but get this. Imagine what it would be like to be hiking on a trail like that and come across him and find out he's blind.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
And he's been hiking further than you, and you've been scared and talking about turning around, and he's just like, this is a dream of mine, and now I'm going to go hike the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, maybe they should make this a movie.
Was it 8 months? They should make it a movie if it's not. Yeah, 8 months.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, if you think about the length of the PCT, the length of all these trails,
Yeah.
like 8 months with your dog. You're giggling.
I know. What if all of a sudden the guy's walking along for gets to the 8, towards the end of the 8 months or whatever, and all of a sudden he's like, why are my feet wet? The dog walked him to the ocean or something. He wouldn't know
The
it.
dog's like, I needed to go see the ocean.
Yeah.
No, he would have heard it way before he was aware of his feet being wet.
Probably.
Yeah, 110%.
But it was my funny.
Hearing
not
senses
literal,
are
not
so
funny.
keen and attuned.
So
Because
yeah.
your other senses have to make up. They have to make up for one that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
So the hearing sense just becomes all that much more turned on and attuned to life. Being able to judge distances, right? If someone's walking up to you on a trail or that's all of that's really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, they should totally make a movie. If he's I guess it doesn't matter if he's still around or not. They could totally make a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if they haven't yet. I'm sure there's a book out there.
We'll have to
But
look that
maybe
up.
they would have marked that in there. I don't know. Do you have an interesting dog fact?
Do I have an interesting dog fact?
Yeah.
You springing this out of nowhere on me, Walker? My brain thinks real great on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't, right off the top of my head.
Me neither.
I don't think quick on the spot. The only thing I think quick on the spot for has to do with counseling. I'm going to shamelessly do a plug. I'm a counselor by trade. And so if it doesn't have to do with crisis and trauma and all things mental health that I have researched and thought about, and my quick on my feet is delayed for a minute.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when the people come through me and we get their dog taken care of, just go next door and you can get your life taken care of. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I don't do the next door thing. I do the virtual thing.
Yeah.
So all online help.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is going to shortly be going that way too.
Interesting how making connections.
Be able to help people train their dogs all over the world.
Yep.
That is the plan. So, all right. Now, what we do want to cover today, though, that is, I think, fairly important because we're talking about safety. We're going to talk today about safety, how to keep yourself safe in different situations, how to keep your dog safe in situations. We're going to talk about things that through the years I find that clients just in a way don't really think about.
Yeah.
And so this isn't about paranoia. This is about when you're put into a situation and if you do not have a plan, that's when you're most likely to be hurt or your dog can get hurt and stuff. But being prepared, having a plan of what to do. So to explain that just a little bit, you have to ask yourself, if a dog is running at you, a loose dog, and you're just by yourself, and a loose dog is just running at you, and they're barking, and they're trying to circle you, what do?
Don't offer them my back.
Yeah. So the thing is in a case like that, you're walking along, and to give you an example, I was running one day when we lived out in Wyoming, and I was going through a park, and there was a bunch of people that were having a picnic, and they had this little dog, that kind of dog, and so I'm running along, and all of a sudden this little dog just tears across the field at me, and so of course I stop and I face it. And the thing is barking and keeping that 5-foot distance kind of thing, but kept trying to circle alongside behind me. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason why that dog did all of that in the first place is because that dog's nerve structure told it that I was a threat.
Yeah.
And so in the process of that, it's thinking that barking and trying to either chase me off or come around it doesn't have the confidence to face me head on, which is why it's doing it in the first place. So as it tries to swing around, I'm sitting there spinning.
Never giving it
And I'm
back.
super calm. I'm not yelling at it. I'm not stomping at it. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just, because I saw the people over there who own the dog. I was assuming they own the dog. And I'm sitting there spinning in circles. And this dog I'm starting to get dizzy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at least change directions, right? So we can spin the other way. But in the process of this, I had to bring it to their attention. And I just, in the process of turning and looking down and facing this dog, I'm like, will you guys get your dog sometime today?
Yeah.
I'd like to continue my run.
Yep.
Oh, he's fine. Well, he was trying to get back behind me so he could pop my ankle or my calf or whatever it is. And I said, no, come and get your dog.
Yeah.
And so I said it with a little bit more, not an or else, but they could tell.
Please come get your dog. Like,
so they
be responsible.
They came and got their dog and everything. But if I would have tried to run away from that dog, if I would have allowed it to come up behind me, that's where you get those nips and bites and stuff like that. So in a scenario like that, that's the thing to do. Now, let's take, for example, a bigger dog, a dog that is actually really dangerous, right? Good-sized dog that can create power and stuff like that. There are people that I know of that will carry, because we're talking about safety. So if our responsibility in dog owners is to keep our dogs safe, we also want to make sure that we don't allow our dogs to get loose or be free and stuff like that if we don't have control because of this, for the safety of others. But your safety is number one. Now, if push comes to shove, that's when we have to maybe look at having some type of stick that we can use. However is needed. There was a client of ours that had a Doberman that she used to love to run with. And she's running down this trail, and these two Rottweilers that were loose, they came hauling, and her dog was actually a very, very nice Doberman. Pretty docile. But these dogs came, and she had mace on herself for her. And the only thing that saved her from these dogs, saved her dog, was macing the Rottweilers. And so it's really difficult to think, how could I do this to a dog? But your safety and your dog's safety or your kid's safety is always number one. And the responsibility falls on the shoulders of the owners of those dogs. First and foremost.
But just like driving, like our son is been learning to drive. We've been in several years of teaching children to drive, teens to drive, not children, but anyways, just like we say, like, you're responsible for yourself behind the wheel. You can't control the actions of other drivers, but you can drive defensively. This is the same concept. Like, we can't control the actions of other dog owners, but if we're aware of our surroundings and aware of potential dangers, it gives us time to respond. And it's not like hypervigilance, like the world is always scary and dangerous when you take your dog on a walk. Not at all. Not at all. But for example, I used to train to run half marathons, and so when I would run in the park with our Rottweiler at that time, this was many years ago, but when I would run with her, if people were coming up on the trail that had dogs, I would make sure that there was separation between the dogs. So there's not slack in the line, there's not, and if I see they don't have control, I'm saying, hey, when we go by, can you maybe have control of your dog? That's not to be rude. It's just not, it's not the safest thing for my dog because of her breed to allow the interaction. Now, she was a sweetie pie, like 97-pound lap dog. But if I'm running on the trail, I don't want people to know that. And if people would come up in particular, if any man asked, may I pet your dog? No, thank you. And the reason for that is because she's not out there at that point to be anybody's friend. She, at that point, was a tool for me. I loved her. She wasn't just a tool, companion.
Yeah.
But she was providing safety while we ran. And the benefit for her was being great in the show ring. And the benefit for me was training. But I could go to parks and run with her because she provided a level of safety.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about that on leash and different things like that, and how to kind of help mitigate, because we have story after story after story of things and the way that it is. But but the thing is one of the best things that a person can do now. All of this, we're not saying that you shouldn't do this or you should do this. What we're doing is we're giving you guys the information that you need so you can make the best decision for you and your family and your dog. And so...
can we circle for 1 second back to the concept of spinning?
For sure.
Because I don't think that we covered very good the reasoning why a dog wants to go behind you to bite.
Well, I did talk about it a little bit. It's the fact that they don't have the courage to face you head on.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the guy in the bar that won't shut up.
Yeah.
And he's just ba 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 ba, right? He might as well just be barking because he's saying a lot of nothing, right? Just won't shut up. You sit there and you're like, I don't want anything to do with this. You turn your back and they cold cock you. And so it's the same type of thing. So because a dog's nerve structure in that being weak, it doesn't make him a bad dog, but they're sitting there going, that's a threat. Barking has worked for me my whole life. Barking out the windows, barking out of the car, barking when I'm on a leash, whatever it might be at these threats. And because they're not real threats, nothing's happening to them.
Which increases their boldness.
In the action of fight.
Yeah.
Yep, which is fight, which is barking, growling, showing of teeth, nipping and biting. And a majority of the time happens in that order. So when the dog is coming and you face that dog, now it's real to the dog in the aspect of, I don't want to get you head on. I want to swing around where you're defenseless.
Get you where you're weak.
Because
basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how dogs catch a lot of their food. Out in the wild, wolves and coyotes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's always up from behind. But the minute, even dogs chasing each other and fighting, they're always trying to whip around or get to the side.
Yeah.
To where you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's fairly instinctual. But then there are dogs out there that if they're coming to get you,
they don't care if you're facing them.
You know it. You know it. And that's what we're talking about when it comes down to actually having something that you can defend yourself with. So
explain for a second what that looks like.
Defending yourself?
Explain for a second what a dog that's coming, that's willing to engage face on, looks like.
A lot of times they're not barking.
Yeah.
Because barking is, again, fear driven. I need to bark to get this possible threat away. But if a dog is bold and they are actually willing to face you head on, they're coming in, and a majority of the time it's silent because they don't need to bark.
What about their tail?
Well, it depends. So if a dog is running, you're going to see the tail more than likely, and this is a confident dog, you're not going to notice much about their tail. It's when a dog stands, that's when the tail will lock up and high.
Yeah.
And
if they ridge, they'll get a ridge on their spine.
Yep. But that's nerves.
Okay. Yeah.
So a dog that's coming is a dog that's confident, is a dog that isn't necessarily nervous. They perceive you as a threat, but they have the courage to stand up to a man.
So they're not trying to circle you. This is a situation like, think about being in the wild and there's a bear coming. Like, they're not going to try to circle and get your back. No. They're just coming. And these dogs are out there They're
We call them the 1%ers.
rarer, but they're definitely out there.
Yep. Yeah, we call them the 1%ers because a dog's life is mainly all about safety. It's about survival. And a dog puts themselves at risk if they engage in a fight.
If they engage, yeah.
So, so the 1%ers, if they're coming, you're going to know it. There is no question. Because they're locked on, they're moving, and you need to be ready. You know, and so mace or some type of stick, something that you can have, taser, not like the shooting type of taser, but a kind of taser.
Yeah.
Because if a dog gets on you like that, there's nothing you can do to fight it.
Yeah.
So I've been there. Yeah. So, but anyways, again, this is just to be able to move forward and have a plan.
Yeah.
And our goal is to go through our whole life, never have that type of experience.
Yeah. But the potential is there if you're out, especially if you're out with your dog. And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get that barker that's just coming at you and kind of bluffing, right?
Oh, for sure.
And that looks very different. They're vocal.
Yep.
They're sometimes trying to go behind and get behind you, get your ankles, get your whatever.
Yep. Yeah, and use your voice.
Oh, 100% use your voice. This was hard for me.
But not use your voice towards the dog.
Yeah.
Use your voice to get help from other people. So, because if a dog is perceiving you as a threat and you're sitting there going, and
guess what?
In a way, you're kind of proving them right.
You're a threat.
So, yeah, so it's a situation where we want to stay calm. We want to not have any super fast actions. And again, we're talking about the scared dog that is trying to get behind you and stuff like that. So stay calm, have a plan, say, hey, whose dog is this? Yeah. Let people know. Yeah. And there's a lot of good people out there that will come and help you. So
yeah. And if you're in a situation where you've got that person that's going, oh, my dog is nice, it's okay, and they're meandering towards you, there's nothing wrong with saying, would you please get control of your dog? Yeah. I don't feel safe. Would you please get control of your dog?
Yeah, so we, all the time, I'm sure everybody has come across those type of people. So there was a client that we had, and this was a long, long time ago, but this client came in and she brought her dog in for training and she's holding it and it's a little dachshund. And this dog, so she's telling me, this dog is so sweet. He's my baby. And you know what? I have no doubt that they cuddle on the couch really well together, right?
Yeah.
But I'm looking at this dog and it's in her arms and it's shaking so much. I was surprised I didn't hear its teeth rattling. Its eyes were bulging. Its ears were back. And all I see is a dog that thinks that it is going to not make it. It's like, I hate like, this environment. Put me back in my home, right?
Yeah.
And she went as far as telling me that she actually saw that dog. That dog is so gentle that she saw that dog step over an ant when they were walking because it didn't want to hurt the ant. Maybe.
Potentially.
But I was behind the desk. She's sitting here on the other side of the desk. And we got the paperwork done. And I said, okay, I'll go ahead and take your dog. And the dog had a leash on it.
Yeah.
I wear a hat all the time. So when I stood up, I had my head down to walk around the desk. And when I looked up, she's shoving him into me to hold. And this dog lit up and tried to bite and all this kind of stuff. She wigged out, dropped the dog. I'm trying to catch the dog so it doesn't slam on the floor. It's trying to bite me on the way down.
Yep.
And I just went, don't do that again.
Yeah.
And the dog was fine. I had all these tiny little bites and stuff all over me and everything. But it just goes to show you that there are people out there, they don't know. They don't know.
Because they think what they have with themselves and created with themselves in relationship is immediately transferable to everyone else, and it just isn't.
Yeah.
Just like our kids might be and we want them to be naturally wary of strangers. And there are so many dogs that are just naturally wary of people. They're not going to display the same kind of, oh, I love you, as they do to their human, but people think that because they're so affectionate, that's immediately what they're going to do to everyone else. And I will say, and I don't know if Chris is planning on going here, but if that dog had been a large breed, it would have been a much bigger issue, right?
Yeah, because if she would have been carrying a big, large breed and tried to hand it to me, though.
No, I just was trying to highlight the fact that oftentimes little dogs, they just get away with murder.
Blue.
Because their little mouth is not going to create the damage that a big dog does. So they learn over and over, biting works, biting works, biting works. And so that's what they do to keep themselves safe.
Yeah.
But big dogs, they bite once and it's a problem.
Yeah.
And so they don't get as many
damage.
chances, right? The amount of damage is different.
Yeah, Blue. So Blue is a little chihuahua that was kind of blue in color and stuff. That dog came in, he had bitten 8 people. It was a little chihuahua. If a Rottie or a Shepherd or a Lab or a Mastiff or Bulldog or something like that.
Sorry. Technical malfunction.
Mastiff, Rottie.
Yeah, Mastiff, Rottie, and all that kind of stuff. What you end up having, that probably sounded really, if that comes through and sounds horrible, I'm really sorry. I'll try to make it not. Anyways, so because of the mic right there and it was into my skin.
Yes,
so,
that's why I brought it to your attention.
Yeah. So anyways, they brought this dog in. Now, train the dog.
Train what kind of dog? Say it again, just in case it was against your skin.
The dog's name was Blue. He's a little chihuahua.
Yeah.
And he had to have been like 5 or 6 old, bit 8 people. And then, so when we had him in, once we taught the training, because anytime you go to touch that dog, he's just attacking your hands and trying to bite you and all that kind of stuff. What was really funny is that we would when we did the down command and we'd say Platz, and the dog would lay down. And then when it was time to let the dog up, we could say, break. And he would jump into our arms because he knew in that moment that he was going to get petted and all that kind of stuff and everything was fine. Take that same dog in that moment, set him on the ground, sit up, go back to pick him up, and the dog's trying to attack you again. So you'd have to say break. And then he was like, I know what's expected right now. And I'm going to be touched and petted. And it was just, that dog was crazy. We probably trained that dog 20 years ago. And I remember that dog.
Yeah.
And his name. So, so anyways, none of this is for fear and putting worry in. But again, it's moving forward with a plan. Now, let's talk about walking your dog and let's talk about the different ways to keep your dog safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're going to cover some things that sometimes people just don't think about. Mm-hmm. So, when we're out walking and we have to kind of decide, did we get our dog for us to enjoy as a family? Or did we get our dogs for everybody that we come into contact with in public?
Yeah, this is a hard one. This comes down to our people-pleasing tendencies in society.
Well, it also is, for us, we get our dog for our pleasure as well.
Yeah.
And so we want to see our dog happy. Mm-hmm. We want to see our dog making friends. We want to see all of this kind of stuff. But it's important to know that that's okay. But, you know, a lot of times as kids are growing up, we have playmates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We set times and we set places for our dogs or for our kids to go play. Sometimes we call them dogs, not really.
Yeah,
So, but we set up times and specific times to do that with people we know and children we know.
Yeah, kids they like. Kids we already know they like.
And so, but when we're out in public, not all people know how to be around a dog. Mm-hmm. Not all people know that their dog isn't gonna be unfriendly. Yeah. So every single time you let 2 dogs go nose to nose, and we're not going to get into the sickness part of it yet, but we want to talk about just strictly confrontation. Okay?
Because they're checking each other out, right? That's a pack order animal.
Remember, your dog doesn't understand the reasoning behind what it is you're doing. They go nose to nose with another dog. What they're doing is, are you safe? If they deem that the other dog is not safe, they're either going to jump back and start barking, maybe they'll try to attack them, maybe they'll run away, whatever it might be. So if you have a dog that you know is fairly dog social, just know your dog won't be social with every single dog you come across.
Yeah, just because I'm people social, I have the heebie-jeebies for some reason, right? We're given an internal check in our spirits when there's danger, and that happens to humans, and that happens with dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just be aware of that. So when you put your dog into a scenario like that or a situation like that, or you allow somebody else to let your dog come up,
let their dog come up.
When you're sitting there wanting to say, please keep your dog back, but you're trying to be nice, and their dog comes up, you're putting your dog at risk. It would be kind of like, in a way, it would be, I mean, we don't let just strangers hold our kids. We don't let strangers just come up and start playing with our children. And so when it comes down to dogs, if we're going to keep our dogs safe, we have to know that we have to, one, look at our breed.
Yes.
There's two main type of perceptions out there with breeds. So you have hard breeds and soft breeds.
Yeah.
If you own a hard breed, for example, Mastiffs, Dobermans, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Malinois, Bulldogs,
Kangles,
these Pyrenees, Newfoundland. Well, no, Newfie's not, but a Saint Bernard is. That's a hard breed. So when you have these type of dogs, if your dog is put in a position where it has to defend itself, you run the risk of having to put your dog down. Because your dog will win. More than likely. Which means you're not keeping your dog safe. If a situation happens that could have been prevented by you saying, please keep your dog back, mine is working, thank you, have a great day, as you move on.
Or if they're continuing towards you as you're verbalizing and they're not stopping, you're physically moving back, you're physically moving off the trail, you're creating distance and saying, excuse me, please respect our space.
Put your dog, or put your body between your dog and their dog. Your body is everything. So here's an example.
Now, go ahead.
We were up in Montana hiking, and we were heading up to this lake, and we had Clarkson. He's the dog that we take in grizzly country, and when we're on a trail and we know that there's not going to be many people around, we'll take him off leash and he'll go run around and stuff like that. Well, we were heading up the trail. It was fairly dense, and so we heard some people talking up the trail a ways. It was a group of college kids, and so got Clarkson, put him on a leash, and
we called him back when we heard the people, because that was for his safety, right?
So put him on a leash, and we start walking, and then we see a blue heeler running loose with these people. So I stepped off the trail about 4 to 5 feet. I downed Clarkson. And then I asked them, I said, I have a dog here, and will you please call your dog back to you and put him on a leash for going past? And it was, the guys were like, oh, he's fine, he's not a problem. And all the while, I'm watching this dog zero in on mine, and he starts moving. And remember when I said that if a dog is coming, you'll know it? Because there's no question? There was no question. That dog, I said probably 2 or 3 times, we have a dog here. Now, I was not afraid of this dog hurting mine. I didn't want my dog to be put in a position where I had to let him defend himself, because he would have cleaned that dog's clock. And so there I am in between the 2 dogs. That dog, the blue heeler, is hauling. And when I stomped and went back like that, trying to apply some type of pressure.
To the blue heeler, yeah.
He never looked at me.
Yeah, he was only zeroed in on our dog. Yeah.
And so I kicked him.
Yeah.
As he came in, I had no choice.
Yeah.
Of course, the college kids saw it.
Right.
They start yelling, "How dare you kick my dog?" And then the girls that were with them, they were like, "He asked you to call your dog back."
Yeah. He asked you multiple times to call your dog.
But Clarkson's black. They hadn't seen Clarkson yet.
Yeah.
And when they saw our dog, they immediately shut up and instantly were thankful I didn't let their dog get to mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
because
so
he is, we hike with him because he is, he's a bear breed. And in Wyoming and Montana, there are grizzlies, in case people didn't realize. Yeah. And so we got him specifically to hike with us as our boys got old enough to start going in grizzly country. And so in that situation, those people didn't realize that Chris's actions were actually trying to keep their dog safe as well as keep our dog safe. And sometimes that's hard because just like the social pressure we have to kind of please people, right? Like, oh, be kind. I'm talking about with our kids, right? Like there's a certain amount of social pressure that's like, oh, be kind to that person. Well, if I have a little girl, I'm not going to say, oh, be kind to everyone. Like that's a social norm that doesn't need to exist for her. Similarly, with our dogs, we need to be able to get past the mindset that would say, I'm going to be pleasant to these people because I'm worried about their response towards me more than I'm worried about being a responsible dog owner, being a responsible person to keep their dog safe too. And so those situations come up, right? People hike with their dogs loose, and there are ways to navigate it that keep everybody safe. And in the end, a tense situation can actually turn out like that, where the people were thankful in the end. Yeah.
I think what it comes down to, and it's a word I think that people kind of forget when it comes down to dogs, is the word courteous. Right?
Yeah.
Just being courteous. If somebody asks you to leash your dog up, leash your dog up.
Yeah.
You know, or if for the same reason that if you were to say, please keep your dog back from mine, you would want them to respect that. And so being courteous out there on trails or out on a sidewalk or out at a park is just something that we should be anyways. When it comes down, again, we have one responsibility, and that is to keep our dogs safe.
Yeah, and just like there are people that don't like touch, right? I'm not going to walk up to people and immediately hug them or immediately shake their hand. Not everyone likes a physical engagement.
I have a bubble.
Not every dog. Lots of dogs don't like a physical engagement, even from another dog. And so I want to touch for just a second on the parent portion of this, just because my dog is a soft breed. Like if you want to hear more about Poe, that's episode 2, but she is...
About her long tongue and snorting and
her
stuff.
long tongue and snorting, and why do I love this thing that's really not... she's kind of gross, but I love her. But she looks like a perpetual puppy. She's an English lab. She's about 50 pounds. When we walk on trails, her tail is constantly going, and she's got this little smile on her face with her big tongue. Anyways, she's a soft breed. And so naturally, people always want to walk up and pet her. And parents particularly... And not ask. And parents particularly have a tendency to continue moving towards an animal while they're saying, oh, can my kid pet your dog? What I want to encourage you in is that don't allow your children to continue towards a dog that you haven't heard from the owner that dog is actually safe for your kid to engage with. Just because a dog looks small and cute doesn't mean that they are kind. Just because you see them on a walk with their tail moving and their little smile on their face, that doesn't automatically mean that that dog is kid friendly. She looks cute, right? She looks adorable, like you would want to pet her. But as a parent, if you can instill in your kids a pause while we wait respectfully to see if that dog is a good dog to pet, that's better, because as cute as my dog is, she has actually a little wariness of kids. And so I get to be the jerk that says, no, thank you.
Well, you also have to think about and talk to your kids that when you walk up to a dog, even if they're nervous, get them friendly, get the tentativeness of your children over by using people's dogs that you know that are safe.
Yeah.
Because a child that is scooching up
Hesitantly,
timidly towards a dog, to the dog that's not normal.
yeah.
And it can weird a dog out.
Yeah.
So since we're at that subject, I want to cover, because we do want people to be able to pet our dogs and children to be able to pet our dogs at different times and stuff.
Yep.
So if somebody comes up to me and they ask me, especially I am a sucker for the little kid that says, "Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Your dog is so pretty. Can I pet it, please?"
And that kid has paused. They're being respectful.
And I'm sitting there and I go from to so
Yes, we want to say yes to that.
So what I do, I then move forward with instruction because I'm going to control it all.
Yeah.
And so my dog gets petted.
Yeah.
The child gets to pet the dog, but at the same time, I'm now going to teach that child how to pet a strange dog as well.
Yeah.
So instead of having a child walk up to your dog, what I do is I make control of mine. I put my hand up underneath the dog's chin, and I move the dog towards the child as I'm petting my dog underneath, and I'm saying easy. And then I say, okay, put your hand underneath the chin, just like mine. Okay, now massage, get there behind his ear, right?
Yeah.
And so then I'm the one starting it. I have it controlled, not because I'm worried about my dog biting them. I don't want my dogs to like try to lick them on the face or jump on them and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now we're there, and then I ask the child, "Are you good? You want to pet a little bit more, or are you done?" And they'll say, "I'm done." "Great, thank you very much. Have a great day." And we move on.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with people petting your dog.
No.
But don't just,
Well,
it's like water hitting together, you know? Don't do it. Do it controlled.
Yeah, yeah. And if you can teach your kids and even adults, right? Don't come in over the dog's head.
That's a pretty dominant move.
That's a pretty dominant move. So
Yep.
people tend to come in like this and they want to engage a dog's ears. Well, if the dog doesn't know you, that is pretty dominant. That's not a good thing. So if you can come in, right, allowing the dog to sniff you, allowing that under the chin engagement, that's a whole heck of a lot safer for everybody.
Yeah. If you're dead set on petting every dog in the world, the number one best thing you can do is never go face to face, never square your shoulders up with a dog like Kari said and do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
What you do is turn sideways, squat down, let them walk the dog up to you in your hand. So it's like if Kari's the dog, I'm sitting here like this, squatted down, I'm looking at the dog, but through my peripherals, and I put my hand out like this. The dog comes up and sniffs. I'm up underneath the chin, and not once am I physically engaging the dog. So what you do is you become less threatening.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, and also, like, if you're an adult and you're wanting to engage the dog, you physically hovering over a dog to reach down to pet it, that's also a dominant, pretty dominant move.
And, you know, I would say that there's quite a few dogs out there that you just don't have to worry about this.
Yeah.
But you don't know which ones they are.
And people would not believe that a dog that looks adorable is potentially a little weirded out by kids. They would think automatically that she's like, woohoo, I would want to love and play with kids. But for her safety, we don't really engage with kids. And that's just, I know her. I know her tendencies. And so it's okay to say no thank you. It's okay to just say, you know, not today, she's working.
I tell every client of mine, and the reason why is because over time, clients were like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Right? So, because nobody wants to come off like a jerk. So if I'm walking along and somebody walks up again and says, oh, your dog, can I pet your dog? Say, you know what, thank you for asking, but they're working right now. Have a great day. As you continue to move.
As you continue moving.
So you're being polite, you give them affirmation, you thank them, and then you don't give time for them to engage.
Yeah.
If they ask this question, why will your dog bite? My instruction is you say, if I tell him to, have a great day, and off you go.
Now that's not necessarily what you're saying towards kids, but if I'm on a trail with my dog and someone comes up, man or woman, right, and wants to engage, and I say no, and they say, well, will your dog bite? Is that why? Well, if I tell them to, that allows them to know this dog is under training. I don't have to let my dog engage you, right?
Well, it's for different reasons.
Yeah.
But it's not normal for somebody to ask, why will your dog bite? They might come up and engage you to want to know if that dog is actually, if that dog will defend you for different reasons and stuff. So, because it's odd for somebody to say instantly, right off the bat, why will your dog bite? Well, we don't admit that they will, but we will say, and I tell people, if I tell them to, thanks, have a great day, and move on.
Yeah, just keep moving.
Yeah.
Kind of like Dory, just keep swimming, keep swimming.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier about, so one thing to keep in mind, and when people talk about, if I ask, clients, I say, what do you think it means to keep your dog safe? A lot of times they'll say, well, when I'm outside, I have them on a leash because I don't want them to take off and I don't want to lose them. Maybe it's instead of letting my dog ride in the back of the truck, loose and open, maybe I put them in a crate or they ride inside the cab, whatever it might be. Yeah. Or they say that, they get all its vaccinations and so the dog doesn't get sick and stays safe. Or maybe they even say, I don't let my dogs go up to other dogs because I don't want there to be a chance of a fight. Okay. But then I ask them, how many times have you let strangers pet your dog? And how has your dog reacted to that? There are people out there that can weird a dog out.
Yeah.
The dog has a sense, and if they sense that this person is kind of off, which there's always those possibilities. Think of this when it comes down to keeping your dog safe. If your dog perceives something as a threat, whether it's real or not, again, to the dog, it's real. And the dog doesn't have the understanding that when, say somebody was to come into your house and you do have a dog that is fearful and barks and all this, and people are under the false impression that they need to socialize their dog and get their dog around all these people and have all these people pet their dogs to show the dogs that they're not a threat. That is not how you take care of it. Because the minute a dog perceives somebody as a threat and that person goes in to try to show them that they're not a threat, the dog doesn't understand the person's intention. Yeah. The barking isn't working. Remember, we said barking, growling, showing of teeth, nipping or biting, and in that order. Yeah. The dog goes, this barking isn't working. This threat is now still coming. Yeah. Now they nip or bite.
Yeah, because the person's advanced and probably hovering over, right? They're coming in dominantly. with that hand over the dog's head. They're proving the dog's fear.
Yep. And so now you have to possibly put your dog down.
Yeah.
How is that keeping your dog safe?
Yeah, it's not.
It's not. And the thing is our dogs can bite. They have teeth.
Yeah.
We always have to respect what it is. A domesticated wild animal.
Well, even the best trained, even the best dog that you think this could never happen, their primary communication in pack is teeth.
Mouth.
It's with their
Mouth and body.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're knocking into each other. They're mouthing right there. But yeah, if a dog has teeth, they have potential to bite at some point.
Call it the perfect storm.
Yeah, they don't feel safe. All their defenses are running out in response to what's worked before, and their defense mechanism now is a bite.
Yep.
And it's usually a quick, right?
Yep.
It's a, hey,
Yep.
leave me alone. But that's enough for a big dog to get in a world of trouble. That's
Yep.
enough for a big dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just be aware of that. I mean, again, we want our dogs to have fun. Have friends with dogs. Find dogs that you know your dog gets along with and set those dates of playtime and do different things like that. And so, but anyways, these are just all things for you guys to think about. Now, something that we haven't...
I'm not done in this category.
Oh.
I'll have one more thing to cover.
All right.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about the hard breed again for just a minute. There is a tendency for people to prove that their hard breed is social. There is a tendency, especially out on the trail when you're running, especially out on the trail, like if people are confident in how much they've trained their dog, people are confident in what their dog has done and that their dog is social, there is a tendency to push. My dog is so kind. My dog is so sweet. And it is a hard breed. And they're pushing that interaction. All I have to say about that is please don't be that jerk.
Yeah.
I don't mean that, like that sounds really awful. But if you have a hard breed and I have a hard breed, I don't want my Rottweiler and your Mastiff to go nose to nose. There is nothing good of that proving that can come.
Also, if you have two big dogs that are really, really powerful, and you're not very strong,
oh my gosh.
Do not walk them together. At that same trail up in Montana,
yeah,
there was a wedding party up there, and there was a gal with two really big dogs, and we're talking big. We're talking 110, 120 pounds apiece.
Yeah.
And they were doing what they wanted to do at any given time because she didn't have the means to hold them. But if it was just her potty and one dog at a time, it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah.
But they caused a lot of problems. Oh, sorry, that was a cramp. I just got a cramp in my hamstring.
That was it.
I just got a cramp in my hamstring. I get flipped again. Gosh
Are
darn
you okay?
it. Yeah.
I didn't notice it, and so I don't think it was very.
It was only for a
long
split second.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, my cramp is what flipped it. Anyways, so...
So not to call people jerks, but there is no reason to prove you're a hard dog.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing to be gained
Yep.
about proving that hard dog.
Yeah.
It's great for you. Like post about it on social media. Be happy
Yeah.
about your dog's training. Let your friends be happy about with social media, but don't force me to prove that your dog is social by wanting your dog to come up to my hard breed and prove they're social. There's nothing smart about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we didn't get off this topic yet, and I'm kind of glad because I also want to tell you guys, how do you show a dog that somebody's not a threat?
Oh, that's
right?
great. Yeah.
So when you have people that come into the door and your dog is barking and carrying on or whatever it might be, or even if you're out walking your dog, if your dog is barking at somebody, the very wrong thing to do, again, is trying to force yourself on the dog or allow somebody to force themselves on the dog. So if you really want to show that somebody is not a threat, have that person ignore the dog. So when you have people that come in and your dog is carrying on and barking, tell your company, say, hey, you know what, just ignore him. Don't look at him. Don't try to talk to him. Don't touch him. Don't do anything like that. You're going to sit down. He's going to keep his distance. Then he's going to come in and smell you. And then everything is going to be fine.
Yeah, because we're having a conversation. We clearly like these people. We've invited them into our home.
The room is kind of settled.
Yep, and we're probably laughing, engaging in conversation. Then all of a sudden your dog's coming up like, hey, does this person like puppies? You know?
Every single time I get a dog in that is fearful of men, fearful of people, anything like that, and the minute the owners get here, I take the leash and I sit down behind the desk. The dog is with me. I never, ever engage the dog. All I do is hold the leash. And then within that time of us doing the paperwork, answering questions,
talking with the client,
getting everything set up, the dog is either trying to suck up into me for safety, or the dog is just laying next to me on the ground, getting ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And so the reason that happens is because I do not engage the dog.
Yeah, he doesn't
So
prove
therefore,
their
I'm
fears.
I'm not proven that I'm a threat.
Yeah.
So use that.
Well, and if you're on a trail, woman or not, like stature of people is important, right? Safety is important.
Hat down low, sunglasses on.
If you're
hoodie up.
If I'm on a trail and I'm running with a dog or walking or whatever, or even in town, if I'm with my dog, I'm not going to allow men to engage my dog and pet, single men by themselves. And I don't mean that rudely towards you. Like, I don't mean that rude. By allowing my dog to have that person pet them, I've just told my dog that person is okay. I don't know that they're okay. So I'm concerned about, I'm talking about if I'm in the woods, right? Or whatever. I've just said, go ahead, pet my dog. You're okay. That's not necessarily true. I don't know.
So I will say this.
You can delete all this from the thing if you want to.
I'm not going to.
Okay. In my brain, so this happens, but in my brain, I'm thinking the trail I used to run on in Washington. There was a backside of that trail that was pretty hilly and pretty secluded, and I felt real comfortable with my Rottweiler with me. I'm not going to have someone touch her and run the risk that she gets a misperception that I think that person's fine and safe, when there's potential that they're not. There's potential that they're going to engage my dog and love my dog and then turn around and wait for me somewhere else. And so I'm not going to allow that interaction as a female by myself. It's just a caution to think about. The response, no, my dog is working right now, is great. Like, I saw the same people almost every day on that trail. It was the same people going on the same walk or the same hike. Occasionally I would see a stranger, and I'm not going to let my dog engage that person. And it's a safety thing.
Okay. So most people's dogs will not protect them even if there is a real threat. They're going to run off.
I still want the perception that my dog is a threat.
But what we're talking about in your specific situation, which is going to be other people's specific situation, is when you have a dog that is actually bred properly, they have the ability to perceive what's a real threat and what isn't.
And she could.
And they have that courage to stand up to a man. So you should be able to have a dog that can be petted by anybody. And if that person turns right around and attacks, the dog is able to pick up on it for what it is and still protect you. So I'm not saying that you're wrong. What I'm saying is this. Your greatest defense when it comes down to having a dog for protection is the fact you have a dog. That is it. Majority of dogs, if there is a real attack, your dog will not fight back. They will run away. It's a small percentage of dogs that have the courage to stand up to a man in a real fight. And so in that instance, Kari did it for her peace of mind, which is completely understandable. But those of you that have a real dog that is bred properly for the act of protection, it doesn't matter who they've been petted by. If there's a real attack coming, they're on them. Because that's the way it is. It's just the way it works.
Yeah.
Right? So, with all that said, now let's get into safety of dogs when it comes down to keeping them healthy. So, so everybody knows what kennel cough is, Bordetella and stuff like that. Yeah. So Bordetella, for those of you that don't know, Bordetella is a virus, also known as kennel cough, that is an upper respiratory virus that is going to act like a cold. And if not treated, it can really hurt your dog, if not kill him. And so when you go to boarding facilities, when you go to some groomers and stuff like that, they require that you get the Bordetella shot. And you can either get the shot or you get the stuff up the nose. The stuff up the nose acts faster. The shot takes a little bit longer to set into the body, but the shot covers more strands of Bordetella, of kennel cough. And then the up the nose doesn't cover as many. Now, those are not guarantees that your dog is not going to get sick. It's basically like a flu virus. And so there's all these other strands out there that those shots or the stuff up the nose will not cover because the
mutations and
variations and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So these are not true numbers, but to give you an example.
And we're not veterinarians, so there's a disclaimer there.
Of
Dog
course.
trainers, not veterinarians.
Of course. And so these are not true numbers, but this gives you an example. If the shot covers 16 strands of the virus, just so you know, there could be upwards of 25 to 30 different strands. So it's transmitted through the air. So that's why it's kennel cough. You have one dog that starts coughing, gets it into the air, the other dogs get it. Now, if you let dogs go nose to nose, this dog can be a carrier of kennel cough for upwards of 2 weeks and not show signs.
Yep.
And now they just gave it to your dog.
Yep, because you allowed them to touch their noses.
Yep. And then you go to a dog park, and now it gets spread even more because you went from carrier to carrier. And so for 14 days, you've got this carrier going and giving it to the other dogs. Now, a lot of people, they don't necessarily know if their dog has it. So real goopy eyes, obviously the hack, the cough that you'll hear, but also you'll see their nose starts to get super wet and starts to run, and then you'll see the green and the yellow starting to come out of it as well. And your dog is just going to kind of act a little flat. So when you're out, if you go to a dog park, you obviously run the risk. Every time dogs go nose to nose, just them not even touching, but just sniffing, if a dog sneezes, if a dog does cough, if anything happens, or they do touch nose to nose, that is the transfer of kennel cough.
Yeah, you're just running a risk, running a greater risk.
For sure.
Yeah.
Parvo, if you have a litter of puppies at home, you can actually bring Parvo home with you just by brushing by somebody who has, in the grocery store, where they have Parvo at home with their dog, now they have it on them. You walk by them, happen to brush shoulders, and now you're taking it home to your litter. It doesn't happen very often, but it happens.
Or you're using their shopping cart, right? And they're not a hand washer, and so now you've got that on you, and you take it home, take your groceries in the house, and you haven't washed your hands before you're bringing that in your space, and then you go out, you forget, right? You're touching those puppies. There's potential, but yeah. So the thing is this. It's not just about biting. It's not just about jumping up and scratching somebody. It's about overall different ways that you can think of how to keep your dog safe, how to keep people safe around you, how you can stay safe with other dogs. And again,
anybody have questions, certain scenarios you just want to make sure where maybe you can think about that we haven't covered yet, and you want it answered. I want to have a section in here where we're answering questions from our viewers. And so, leave a comment, ask a question, all that kind of stuff, because we want to make sure to get that correct information out for those to be able to have the success in their life with their dogs.
Yeah. And the thing is this has been a little heavy at some points today, and that's not the total goal. The goal of training is to be able to invite your dog into all aspects of your life.
Yep.
And that's great for the dog. That gives the dog a great, full, wonderful life. But just like with our kids, there are parameters, right?
Yep.
There are parameters to keep them safe, and that's okay. That's okay to operate in that space. It's okay to learn new language to operate in that space, so that you're giving them the safety they need to be able to be part of camping and hiking and fishing and just whatever it is you're into, whatever friendships you have, So,
Yeah. So with all that said, Kari's
clips. It's time for Kari's clips.
Yep.
In the spirit of VeggieTales songs. It won't always be like a newspaper clip, probably, but for right now it is. And I still read the newspaper. So I love Garfield and Odie, classic, right? This one's funny, and it's probably going to spark a whole nother conversation. Okay. Maybe next podcast, we'll see. So Garfield's sitting here, and he says, "Welcome once again to Ask a Dog." And Odie's like, "Hey." And this is similar to what you were saying about comments, right? So Garfield's reading a letter, and he says, "Our question today comes from Archibald Headcheese of Ticklick, Kentucky. He writes, I can never keep cool in the summer. How do dogs do it?" And Odie immediately gives a demonstration. He sticks his tongue way out. There's all the drool coming off his tongue. And he says, pant, 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 pant. Right? And so the next clip is hilarious. The ending clip, and I'll show you again. It's Archie and his dog sitting in the pool, and both of them have their tongues hanging out, and they're panting. And the little girl says, "Aunt Lil, is Uncle Archie hyperventilating?" And she says, "No, dear. He and Blue are just keeping cool." And so that is my clip for today. That's a whole nother thing. How do dogs keep cool?
Well, you don't shave them.
And they can't sweat.
They pant, and they also cool off through the pads of their feet.
Yeah.
So that's why you'll see a lot of dogs, in the heat, they'll want to stand in mud puddles. They'll want to go stand in the kiddie pool. If the grass has been wet or watered, they'll go lay down in it. But yeah, so the pads of their feet and through their mouth. Yeah. Panting.
Breathing heavy. And so apparently this Archibald Headcheese from Ticklick, Kentucky thought that would work for him too. So the key there, and why it's funny, is he's sitting in a pool and the dog's sitting in the pool, and both their tongues are hanging out and they're panting. But the human can sweat and your dog cannot.
I think what's interesting is the dog is the same size as the guy.
Yeah, it's true. Look again. It's like they're both the same. It's hilarious. Yeah. Love Garfield. Funny comic for years and years.
All right. So now this is what we're going to finish off with. The FCI.
Oh yeah, I forgot we were going to do that. Okay.
This is where
I'm 1 for 1.
Yep, this is where I read a brief historical summary of a breed, and then we talk about the behavior and temperament. I read that, and then she has to guess what it is. Now, for those of you, again, that don't know, the FCI is really the governing body of standards of the breeds everywhere in the world, pretty much, but the U.S. So,
Yeah.
you ready?
No. I don't know that I'm ever going to be ready because I'm afraid I'm going to be wrong, but that's okay.
Origin. This dog comes from Great Britain.
Okay.
Okay, do you know what it is yet?
No, just keep reading. And the thing is even if I do know, I'm not going to say anything because if I say anything and then you stop, then all the viewers don't get a chance to hear the whole thing.
I was being funny.
And figure it out for themselves.
I was being funny.
And even if I do think that I know, I might not know.
I know. All I said was Great Britain. All I said was Great Britain.
And then
That's what made it funny.
Do you know yet?
All right.
No. Okay.
So this breed is said to have been bred down from the larger foxhound to hunt with men on foot, preferably after the hare, which is also the rabbit. He is still used in packs, very often organized by institutions, including colleges and schools. A bustling, eager little dog, full of enthusiasm and vigor, ever ready for any activity which involves him. Everything about the breed gives the impression of athleticism, and there is no better sight than this dog in a pack in full pursuit. Their heads down to the scent, their sterns up rigid, order as they concentrate on the chase. Now, during the reigns of King Henry VIII and Queen Elizabeth I, they used to be there were wire-haired ones, some of which were small enough to be carried in the pocket of a hunting jacket. Size has increased over the years, but smaller versions of the breed, they're called the pocket and then the breed name. And sometimes they're stillborn, okay? Now, behavior and temperament. A merry hound whose essential function is to hunt primarily rabbit by following a scent. They should be bold with great activity, stamina, and determination, alert, intelligent, and of even temperament, showing no aggression or being timid.
So is this my hush puppy dog? Is this... No, because that's a beagle. Is it a beagle?
Ding, 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 ding.
I didn't even know when I brought it up earlier. See, we're sinking together. I love that dog so much. I do. Like little
imagine wire hair.
Ears, and then a little droopy eyes.
And fitting in the pocket of a hunting jacket.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
You said wire hair and it automatically made me think Jack Russell.
Yep.
Like I went from wolfhound to then you're like little, and so I'm like, well, what about like an English Terrier? And then I'm like, well, what about a Jack Russell?
Yeah.
I don't even know where some of these come from. And so all my brain's just going all over the place. But then I thought, oh, did I just earlier in the podcast say exactly what you were going to talk about later? That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Not kind of funny. Like, that's cool.
So Kari,
Beagle.
long time ago, Kari just so wanted a beagle because they're so cute and everything.
I want one someday. And a corgi. Like, I just have this big dream about owning all the dogs.
It's just, that's all they are. They're just...
So cute.
Yeah. So anyways, but yeah, you did good. You've done good. That one was not easy.
That one was not easy, but I had already been talking about it, so it was in my brain.
Because we didn't talk about color, nothing.
Beagle.
Yep.
You know what I need to do? I need to be, okay, so this week I saw the cutest video. This gal posted a little reel on Facebook. I don't know if she posted it this week, but it came up in my reels, right? But she posted, she's like, my dad goes to the neighbors every day and borrows her dog because she loves the dog so much. So he goes and like borrows the he doesn't, obviously have a dog of his own, but he loves the neighbor's dog and has this relationship. So she filmed from his house, like the man walking over and the woman opening the door, and this little white fluff ball just comes out and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you. And he scoops the dog up and just gets this big smile on his face. And then he walks back over to his house for his little time with this dog. So we need to find someone who has a beagle And I need to be able to have beagle time. And maybe corgi time.
Yep.
Ooh, I like it.
Yep.
I'll get my fix and send them home. Kind of like being a grandma, but before grandma-ness.
Why can't I think of the CrossFitter's name, Jacob?
Oh, his dog is so cute. So cute.
And I can't remember the dog's name either. Is it Winston?
Winston.
Yeah, Winston the corgi.
Winston, the corgi. He has his own, like, don't they do a little Facebook page or something?
Something, or Instagram or something like that.
Where he works out and the dog's with him, and the dog's just like always happy
This corgi
and
is
just like
something else.
going places.
Hefner. Jacob Hefner.
Yeah, so
Jacob Hefner, CrossFitter. Love watching you.
We like watching
but we
your
love
corgi.
Your dog more. Yeah.
Yeah, see, when I picture corgi, I actually picture that dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe his name is Winston. Yeah, he's pretty cool. All right. That's it.
Okay.
We're
That's
done.
it. Apparently, episode 2
3.
for me, which is 3 for
3
total, is
Yep.
in the books.
Yep.
In the bag.
So, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Yep. Bye.
All right. Done. Good job.
Boom.
Boom.